Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa television broadcasting from the Political Command Center in London. Thank you very much across the continents of the world. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever. Those who are waking up in Ukraine, in Russia, we are sorry. The war has taken long to be over, but not everything is permanent. Tomorrow or the other day, there will be a ceasefire. Even the Second World War, First World War came to an end. Even Hitler is no more. So there is nothing wrong when a war is taking place. People are dying, yes, but at a certain stage, this war must stop. We are not going to continue piling arms and arms and arms across the oceans to create a situation that is permanent. One of these days, God will rain, or it will come down heavy with his hand and hold the hands of these two superpowers. The rivalry of a proxy war in Europe is causing quite a lot of untold suffering that it could affect Europe politically. Regime change could begin in Europe. There are some countries that are facing very terrible winter at the moment because of the war in Ukraine. That is the topic that we shall look at. But what triggers coming back on our continent of Africa? What triggers wars and conflicts on the African continent? Miriam has got a set of areas of elections on the continent of Africa where we feel they always trigger the chaos that we see that comes up to be big conflicts. Are the wars in Democratic Republic of Congo, for example, the conflict? Is it the fear of the term expiring? Is it the fear? Central Africa, Libya, Mozambique, Somalia, Ethiopia, Boko Haram. What is the problem? We shall look at the trigger mechanisms. And the trigger mechanisms lie in both just a policy of proxy war and a policy of bad elections. On the continent of Africa, we have countries, Tanzania, Nigeria, Congo, Brazzaville, all of them heading to an election. Zimbabwe. Are you looking at a trigger that could trigger a conflict? You have heard some of the headlines from Zimbabwe saying the leader of opposition has made military chiefs and the chiefs of security. Are we seeing an alliance that could emerge to create a conflict because of elections? What triggers conflicts in most parts of Africa, and mark you, are elections. Are our elections? Do we really know the difference between elections and democracy? Do we know? Several people in Africa talk of democracy. When elections are held, we are democratic. Are we? The more elections you hold in Africa, the more you become democratic, is it? The answer looks like no. But there are times when you preach and then you need to carry the dust. Shall we carry the dust and go away and shake our feet? Luke chapter 9, verse 15. Jesus said, when you go out in the cities, telling Paul, that when you go out here and you preach and you see that the preaching, nobody is interested, what do? Carry the dust, shake and leave. But should we do that? Just as the Bible has commanded us to do so, should we leave Africa to fall to pieces? That is not our desire. Good morning. This morning, we have a topic lined up, the trigger of conflicts in Africa. We shall first look at the elections on the continent, sample these 3 to 4 areas from Miriam, which she will tell us from Tanzania, Nigeria, Congo Brazzaville. These are some of the places that you see coming up in the real situation that is taking place on the continent of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, as much as Africa wants to unite, as much as Africa wants to progress, as much as we want our economies to grow, to prosper, to reach a horizon beyond the sunset, as long as we don't have patriotism and nationalism, as the historian teacher Wanda tells us about Pan-Africanism, nationalism, the sense of feeling for our continent, the sense of togetherness, the direction, the roadmap. Do we have the roadmap? Most people in Africa, Miriam, most presidents in Africa have roadmaps that end in road pockets. Do we have a roadmap? In communication and any political science, you tell your students straight away, this is a roadmap. And my roadmap involves solutions, direction, obstacles, challenges. And what else? There is another one that goes with the roadmap, direction, solutions, obstacles, challenges. Wanda will bring another one, the last one, in a roadmap. If you have that, whether economy, whether politics, whether social life, whether media, there is a roadmap. That roadmap is your direction. Even Jesus Christ started from the port of Capernaum. The first miracle was in the port of Capernaum. And if you trace and you go to Israel and trace from the port of Capernaum, which is the current Haifa, and go all the way to Jerusalem. This is the route you can follow, drive or walk if you want. You can walk on that route and stop in places where Jesus stopped on the journey. After feeding 5,000 people also on 12 loaves, oh, ye Jesus. He left, but there are people like me and Miriam who are daughter and sons of God. It's God who looks after us. But did we eat the food that was miraculous? Who ate? Did you? I didn't. But I am here, served by the same God. So these are contradictions of our Africa. There are those who have, and there are those who don't have. And those who don't have, look, are many. But those who have are few. But yet, all of them built the same houses. How many of you in Africa, how many of you, including on this platform, I believe Mr. Wanda stays in a house which has a gate. And to some extent, his gate has a dog. And on top of the dog, there is a watchman, or 2 or 3. And on top of the watchman, there is a CCTV. Are you both not poor? As I land my mic, Elif Ziwanda, you are smiling behind there. Miriam, you might have your dog, you might have your CCTV, you might have your fence, 2 watchmen. But still, once the noise makes on the wall, which is unclear noise, you'll open the window, you'll wake up and try to see. Why don't you just sleep and say, I have the CCTV, which will monitor that noise. I have the watchman, I have the dog. Africa needs these lessons, needs a roadmap. You need a roadmap in order to tell people and convince people. Citizens of Africa need roadmaps. What will you do? What is your roadmap? How will you frame it? Don't give the frames. Don't mix frame with roadmap. Hello, Africa. Wanda, are you hearing me? Don't give me a frame. I want a roadmap. The newspapers in Britain today come up with a very good 5-point roadmap. 5-point. Sunak is going to change the economy of the United Kingdom. It's a roadmap. Don't bring me frames. Frames are dangerous because once you frame yourself, you are framed also. And are you with me there? Someone will come to frame you. Buhari is leaving power in 2023. By May, Buhari will not be a president. And I've been told he is going to hide near his home. He will never travel to where I am placing papers next week. In the judicial system of the United Kingdom are waiting for him to come. That is okay. But has he left a roadmap for Nigeria? How far hasn't he left Nigeria worse than he told us 8 years ago that he will be able to finish Boko Haram in 100 days? Little known to me, Mr. General Buhari was himself looks like he's a Boko Haram, because the actions of General Buhari indicate that he is either with the terrorists, the people are being maimed, and the president walks casually. He's an army man, a general who should be very frank and open. Thank you very much, Miriam. As I land the mic and come back to you, let's not waste much time on the newspapers. Go through for them housekeeping and bring us to the first topic, Tanzania. The elections of Tanzania, today spark election conflict, yes or no? The elections of Nigeria, do they spark a conflict, yes or no? The elections of Congo, Brazzaville, do they spark, yes or no? The elections of Zimbabwe, will they spark a conflict, yes or no? Then we come finally, I'll tell you why conflicts in Africa are many. I landed the mic.
All right, thank you for that. I'll just take us through quickly the headlines this morning. The Daily Nation Fresh calls to probe 2022 poll intrigues. And then from Azimio Dream Team to Shadow Cabinet, the Star newspaper, Ruto's grand infrastructure plan revealed. Woman suspected of burning son's hands for stealing 50 shillings to buy food. That story is on page 3. And Queen of Pop Madonna spends holiday in Kenya. And ordeals of women at family planning clinics. That is what we have on the front page of the Star newspaper. The Standard newspaper, no quick fixes as Ruto rolls up his sleeves. That is the main headline. Austerity, irony of state seeking posh offices. That story is on page 4. And trading in KQ shares suspended. And tales of abuse and death on China vessels. And Kalonzo backs opposition office, eyes 2027 race. So that is what we have on Kenya's leading newspapers. We turn our attention now to some regional papers. New vision from Uganda, government stops schools development fees. The Daily Monitor, also from Uganda, digital CAN number placed to start in March, I guess like the ones we're having here in Kenya. That is also from Uganda. And the Punch from Nigeria, discos hike electricity tariff secretly, consumers kick. The Nation, also from Nigeria, Tinubu, Shetima, APC chiefs shut down Kano. Pretoria News, that is from South Africa. Chwane incurs an adverse audit opinion. Sowetan from South Africa, Tswane's accounting mess. Newsday from Zimbabwe, Chamisa was security chefs. Is it chefs or chiefs?
Chefs. They call them chefs. They call them chefs, yes.
CCC will win ZIM for change in 2023. That is what we have on the Daily News. The Citizen from Tanzania, key sectors to watch amid upbeat outlook. And that is what we have in some of the regional newspapers. So you're now up to date.
Thank you very much, Miriam. The newspapers in Britain are very straightforward. We have all of them almost talking about the economy, the roadmap. There is not. Don't waste much time telling stories. Roadmap. Give us the roadmap. Keep quiet and go on thinking which framework you will approach the particular, episodes. Is one that you teach history, you can't start talking about the Oyo Empire without telling us what was it made of. Then when you are telling us that the place is called Mali in Timbuktu, is it the city Timbuktu or what is it called? Timbuktu. I don't know that. Yes,
Timbuktu.
That one.
Timbuktu.
Yes, Timbuktu. Kenyans say Timbuktu. For us in Uganda, we say Timbuktu or Timbuktu. That's how I think that was also a proper way of learning English. And then later on, when I went to Britain, they said Timbuktu. And I said, what is all this? So thank you very much. You can't tell people about reaching the Carthage without telling us the origin of the Oyo Empire. What was it? The Benin Empire, the Ashanti Empire. How come that Ghana was called Gold Coast? But where is the gold? Has it gone under the the Atlantic Ocean? So these are some of the stories. In Britain, the Prime Minister of Britain, the new Prime Minister of Tory Party, Rishi, commonly known as Rishi, judge me on my pledges to fix Britain. Daily Express says so. The Guardian says PPE in 122 million order not safe for use in NHS. You know this PPE are the same things that brought chaos here in Kenya. Miriam, they are called you PPP what? The ones where people were wearing from here up to there during the COVID.
PPE.
Yes, some of these things, COVID came, but COVID left a trail of corruption everywhere in the world. People touched this money, and yet people were dying. You can see that is where we have gone wrong. And the writer, Faye Weldon, she has written very many books in Britain. You can read all of them. Very good novels of fiction and some of reality of the things that are happening today in the United Kingdom and across the world. That is, she died at the age of 91. And over 700,000 people lack central heating. My Jesus Christ. And if there is no central heating in your place at the moment, Jamen, we are dead. We are dead, 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 dead. We finished. It's cold. The temperatures have dropped below minus. It is a very terrible situation that we have this type of things that are taking place in our midst. All right. And another newspaper, that was Daily Express, The Guardian, The Telegraph says, Stammer, we are no longer the party of big spending. Labour Party says we shall not spend big. We shall bring back the economy. We shall bring back the environment. We shall bring back the police on the foot. We shall bring back, remove, deplete prisons. We don't want more criminals. We shall not export people to Rwanda for sale. Maybe this was like a sale, Miriam. Yesterday you told me it's like a mtu alinunua. You are about to take these guys. You know, humanity has become a dumping ground, to be dumped in a dumping ground. When you say pay, I will pay $500, and you go and enter a situation is really very bad. The Mirror said, our lovely dad died waiting for an ambulance. Sorry, this is very sad. And you know, when you in the United Kingdom at the moment, it is better to drive your car and arrive in the hospital emergency, and doctors will treat you quickly than waiting for an ambulance. The Independent said Sunak fast tracks talks to end NHS strikes. And those are the newspapers in Britain. Thank you very much, Miriam. Back to you in the studios in Nairobi for our kickstart, the topic itself of elections triggering conflicts in Africa. Let's go.
Thank you. Now, there is a seeming paradox at work on the African continent. Democracy has established itself as the dominant political system, and as an integral part of this process, multi-party elections have emerged as the most legitimate route to political office. And yet in recent years, violence has increased in such elections. Although the formal institutional makeup of many African states has changed, the underlying logic of politics has not. Power and resources are still largely concentrated at the center, raising the stakes of elections. The winner literally takes it all, while the loser is left standing small in a strongly politicized big man system. Individuals must be sure they have backed the right horse in the lead up to elections to protect their own interests. Beyond physical violence, violent discourse can be effective in mobilizing and is used to mobilize political campaigns, especially in political environments colored by ethnic and regional stereotypes and a previous history of conflict, like we've seen play out in a country like the Democratic Republic of Congo. But we shall start by looking at Zimbabwe, and the main political parties have started preparing for the country's general election that is set to happen this year, as they hold rallies and campaign activities in cities and towns to whip up their bases. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission has yet to announce the exact date for the vote, but it has been revealed that it will be held either in July or August. The 2018 election took place on July 31st. The main political parties for the 2023 elections remain the ZANU-PF, which has been in power since independence in 1980, and the opposition Citizens Coalition for Change, CCC, formed earlier this year and led by the veteran politician, the younger politician actually, Nelson Chamisa, ahead of Zimbabwe's election this year. A report last year found that there is an increasing number of citizens that have lost faith in the electoral process, citing, among other things, the violent nature of the country's politics as a major drawback. So that is where we shall start our conversation this morning.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And thank you for that analysis of first the opening is a paradox. The statement, can you read that statement again? It was a paradox, something?
Yeah, elections in Africa, it's very paradoxical, and it's a paradox at work. in this continent, democracy, which now has established itself as the dominant political system. A lot of African countries have adopted democracy as the political system, and as integral part of this process, multi-party elections have emerged as the most legitimate route to political office.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, according to the voters register, there are about 7 million voters. About 7.5 million voters who will go today, who have so far registered. Or above that, I think figures about 7.5 to 8 million. But if you look at the final tally when the election takes place, Miriam, you will only have about 4 million people who have come out to vote. What does that tell you? Are people interested in elections anymore? Are people, if it is a democracy system that has been now part and parcel of these African countries, so-called African states, that were demarcated in 1884 by Bismarck without consultation. Do we call this a system, or we call this a fragmentation of the state? If the winner cannot accept the results, if the loser cannot accept, the winner accepts the results and does not recognize the loser, do you call that an election? Is a precursor to violence. There is no election in Africa apart from South Africa that I have seen, witnessed. South African election because of the
proportional.
Yes, proportional representation. Because of the proportional representation systems of South Africa, they produce whoever has parliamentary system, whoever has more members of parliament in parliament forms government. And whoever comes from Limpopo, the province of Limpopo, of the province of Cape Town, or Port Elizabeth, or Eastern Cape, or Western Cape, or Durban, all MPs are considered South Africans. Our states in Africa, MPs are considered people's, your own MP, my MP. If I ask you about Kenya and ask you Wanda about Kenya, how many MPs do you know apart from the one where you are? I believe you stay in Eastlands. I don't know where you stay, whether Eastlands or Westlands or Northlands or whatever. Name it. Who is your MP, Wanda?
My MP is that is Kerry, not Kerry.
Around, that's North London. Sorry.
That is
North. I'm calling it North London. That is Dagoretti and areas of Lavington area there. Okay. Apart from him playing football, drama, who knows him in Turkana? Very few. Out of the population of the Turkana area, very few know him. Even when he goes in a hotel, unless he has got a bodyguard with pistol and so on walking around, is when people note that he's an MP. But in South Africa, Malema is known by the Limpopo people and known by the people of Cape, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, Durban, the Natal, the Zulu, the Orange Free State. You see, I'm naming for you the provinces of South Africa, which some people don't know. You learn a lot when you come to Punchline Africa TV. We don't only talk about very few things which other main media does not talk to. They don't. Our media here brings us soap opera from Mexico, which I have. Does that soap opera ever end? I see it every. Has it ever ended? Has a new episode started, Miriam? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't watch those things. I don't even have time.
And like me, I think that one that you have some time for that soap opera, but you find some surprisingly, Miriam, some of our students, we pay a lot of money for them to go to school, and for them only to come to recite for us these soap operas. That, oh, I want to watch my program. If you remove a remote control, you are in trouble with him or her. Now, you are paid, but if you ask him that what is sine 1 minus sine 2 is equal to this subset, this to that, I say, These are our children we have now in our houses in Africa. Not only in Africa. The ones in the UK, where you are, you come, the parent, there is a note from the teacher, and the teacher has written that your child sleeps while in class. So it is you to check on your your son. Why should your son sleep in the class? It means he watches those films at night. So remove the phone, remove the TV, close the TV in the sitting room, have the key, sleep with them, let him or her kill you. But some of us, we have left our children, they have gone beyond us. You will be shocked that a child fails a simple question. When you ask him, where is Abadea's mountains? He says they are in Morocco. Yes. Morocco, conflicts come because we have gone for wrong things. The elections in Zimbabwe definitely might cause a conflict. Because already you can see, Miriam, you have read there that the leader of opposition is meeting military chiefs to do what? It's George Soros talking through the military chiefs. That is the bold question I am asking. Remember, this program is bold. Is George Soros talking through Chamisa to the military chiefs? This year we might not have end without military coups. There are very many. They are here. Yesterday, Miriam, we are talking about doctrine of necessity. Jesus said necessity has no law. If it is necessary to enter the pit latrine on Sunday to pull out your child who has fallen on the pit latrine, do you wait for Monday morning? Will he be alive or she will be alive? No, you jump in. Let the thing take both of you, but at least remove the Casimiro one of yours. Isn't it? Necessity has no law. The doctrine of necessity is going to happen in Africa because of bad elections, badly managed elections trigger. I am sure yourselves, because this, I don't talk about Kenya. You yourselves, Rwanda, you know very well, you have gone through elections. You have seen two, the only ones I can talk about is 2007. I saw it. I saw the bloodshed on the streets, and everything went upside down. But elections in Africa trigger conflicts. And one of those conflicts, many of them come as a result of badly managed elections. Coups are staged because of badly managed elections. And when you look at the coup in Guinea Conakry, was as a result of bad elections. Conde took elections. The coup in Chad, where the father of the current a president was killed on the battlefield. He had already manipulated elections. So it is elections and elections and the elections and elections that are killing Africa. I had learned Zimbabwe is not an exception. Miriam, it could be a conflict, as I will come at the end to tell you how it could be triggered. One, the voters register is not displayed. They brought it out, and the people have now said, the boundaries have not been well demarcated. One group is saying there is this, there is that, there is that. The constitution, the rules of engagement are not the same. So, in a nutshell, boldly, can I say it boldly? And I give Wanda the mic. Can I say it boldly? My bold statement, the bold step is to tell you the truth that if I take power in Africa one day, I will abolish elections for some time. Thank you. I land the mic. So you can ask me, then do what? I swear, the first thing that I'll do, and that, you know, on this program, we talk boldly. If you want to hate me, hate me.
But those elections, they normally take place somewhere there. They normally a formality, really.
Exactly. So to set
up the opposition for a good beating, I think that's what happens somewhere there.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I take power, why should I tell people lies that I'm conducting an election? I abolish them like the general in Mali. They have abolished elections for 5 years. And they are training people. There is a subject syllabus in Mali for training for election, how to vote. Kenya registered how many? 18 million people. How many voted? 11. 19. There were 19 million. How many voted? 11. Where did the rest go? Athi River. They were stolen by Tana River and the Athi River, and they went underwater. Now they have a surface. Just tell me, Uganda had a population, an election of 16 million voters. You know how many people voted in Uganda? Only 9 million. 90 point something million. Miriam, tell me where the 7 million people in Uganda disappeared to. They went in Lake Victoria going to eat fish. Then after that, the election is over, they came out and they demand soap, they demand roads, they demand sugar, they demand... Now, why didn't you vote? Because you fear election will bring a conflict. Your show will be burnt down. So, if I were a leader in Africa, the first thing I would begin is to ban an election. No more election for some time as I take my citizens on education, what to vote, how to concede defeat. If you look at my country, Uganda, for example, because Miriam, I am avoiding talking about Kenya. I don't want to be misunderstood. My country, Uganda, President Museveni has never written a speech that he has lost an election. Where? I've been checking his coats for the coat he wears when coming to swear. Nowadays he wears white shirts, very good cotton shirts from Ginger, which I like him for the shirts because I don't like, I also have some similar shirts of that nature. Very good shirts. He wears them. But in his court, in all these 38 years, His Excellency has never written 2 speeches. He has written 1 speech. Now, let's come back to the other man. And the one down here, Miriam, turn the table. The leader of opposition called the veteran leader, the man who cries most every day. You know, that one. He has never written a speech to concede. Yes, you can say, how do you concede an election which has been stolen? That is his, that's where we are. Tuambiane ukweli, his boldness. Basically has never written a speech of concession that I have conceded, you've won. Or Mr. Guitar, we call the younger guitarist who will play guitar on my coronation. You know, these are the guys who have never written a conceding speech. So both sides in Africa bring us a conflict at the end of the day. The good thing with Ugandans, they tell you, hello, whose shop are you going to break? Have you seen why Ugandans don't come to the streets to demonstrate? I'm giving you a clue. We have our matoke. Once we vote, there is plenty of matoke, haki ya Mungu, wanda, you cut and eat and smoke. You even snore. For us, we are very good at snoring for 5 years. We shall wake up 2025, Miriam. Look at me. 2025 is when we are about to wake up. Is it 2025? Yes. Then you say, what happened here? But for now, we are, that's it. Which is, because no Ugandan who has gone to borrow money from a bank, Miriam and Ellis, will accept. I landed the mic. Will accept for you to break my shop. And the bank manager comes tomorrow to take my plot. Whereas in Britain right now, if we say the snow is too much, winter is killing us, we shall even kanyaga hiyo snow haki ya Mungu. 1 million much. 10 Downing Street. Now snow. Tuambie Prime Minister, reduce. Either you reduce or call elections, we throw you out. Our country has food to eat. But when you don't have food to eat, such countries on African continent are fragile. Nigeria, for example, is fragile. The elections, the way I'm seeing the exchanges and watching carefully about Nigeria, there will be an exchange which could bring about very deadly circumstances. Ireland.
Right. I wonder, a lot of African political system, much of it at the core center of why even elections that revolves around our politics is power and resources. And so people want to align themselves with a team they know will win and at the end of the day will protect their own interests. So they will mobilize, and violence has been used as a tool to mobilize and to whip up emotions. And of course, if you throw in there the murky issue of ethnic balkanization, now you have a recipe of a full-blown conflict in a country. We have suffered from that here in Kenya and many other countries across Africa. So I don't know, what is your thoughts about election and being one of the key, actually, leaders of conflict in this politics, being one of the key leaders of conflict in this continent, with Zimbabwe in mind?
Thank you so much, Miriam. That indeed the elections in Africa are really, are highly competed for. It is a competition that attracts quite a lot of interest from the two positions or two sides that want to probably take over. And at times we have ended up declaring politics as a game of interest. At times we have ended up declaring politics as a dirty game. Therefore, if I stick on the line that politics is a dirty game, it's on the grounds that politics in Africa attracts conflict that has never ended. Conflict that keeps on recurring. After every regime, we'll get to another conflict, and the conflict will keep on between the opposition versus the government. And in this case, if I look into what's happening now in Zimbabwe as they gear up to the elections, there are already chances that it will be a heated competition, considering that already Chamiso is in the opposition, or the leader in the opposition is already not okay with the process. And if I'm told you're not okay with the process, then it means the outcome, if it's not in your favor, then definitely you won't be able to, you will not back the results. And you look at what the opposition, that is Chamisa's arguments, part of it have some weight, they carry some weight. Like I'm made to believe that the Electoral Commission that is supposed to be independent, that is the Zanzibar Electoral Commission, that is completely supposed to be independent as the referee or as they manage the elections, in one way or the other, they are already leaning on the side of Mnangagwa. That it's a bit sad that one of the commissioners, and I fail to understand why our electoral commissions have never chosen to be independent. Very few nations will probably say the electoral commissions are okay. Now, when you look into what Zanzibar Electoral Commission is having, Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, we have had some people being appointed as commissioners very few years to elections, or few days to elections. And one of them is actually the daughter of the vice president of ZANU-PF, who in this case sits in the same table or on the same table as they plan on how to win elections with the father. That your father sits to plan how are you going to win the elections. Then in the process, you are appointed in the commission that is going to manage the very elections. That is Abigail. Therefore, when you look at Abigail, then it tells of someone who is getting into these elections already leaning on one side, already getting in with an assignment that we're
We're having a problem with your connection. We apologize for that. We are not able to fully get what Wanda is saying. Wanda, sorry.
Winner of the day. For elections in Africa, it's a case I've never imagined that. Sorry?
We had lost you there.
You can't hear me?
All right, we can get you now. Go ahead.
You can get me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I don't know how far you'd lost me.
Go ahead, not so much, but come on, go ahead.
Why don't you talk without the video? Use the audio.
Let's try that and see.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Use the audio. Remove the video. He's gone.
All right, he's working on it. There's issues with technology, and he was making very key points there. I think his back is not gone yet. Wanda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know what happened.
But no worries, just go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Now, I was looking into these elections in Africa in the sense that elections in Africa are very heated. It's a very heated competition in the sense that every person wants to win these elections, to the case that we have ended up declaring the very elections as either the game of interest, where each group is interested in making it to the top. And at the same time, we have gone to the extent of painting it as a dirty game, in the sense that politics attract some dirty kind of activities, events, and all those kind of. And you look into what is already happening in Zimbabwe, where we expect the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission to be very independent, because they are the ones refereeing the game. They are the ones to ensure that everything is free, fair, and credible. But now, when you look into the Electoral Commission of Zimbabwe, few years or few months or few days to elections, we have had some appointments being made in the Zanzibar Electoral Commission that Chamisa and the group are not okay with it, in the sense that in the outcome that Chamisa group loses the elections, whether free, fair, whether not free and fair, automatically Chamisa will not agree with the results, will not admit, will not write a conceding speech and concede in the sense that I've lost the elections. That we have this, the daughter of, that is Mohadi, Kembo, or in this case, the vice president, although he resigned, but he's still the vice of the ZANU PF, of which if of the daughter of the vice president of ZANU PF is appointed as a commissioner in the Zanzibar Electoral Commission to go and referee the game, to go and ensure that elections are free and fair, then how do we convince Chamisa that the daughter of the vice of your competitor, your key competitor, whom has been appointed by your, by your competitor, or whom has been sworn in by your competitor, is going to be fair in managing this process? And therefore, there is a case, there is a scenario that we might have some conflict in Zimbabwe. The only thing that will happen is that we don't know the magnitude. We don't know how much Chamisa and the group will want to push. But chances are so high, persons like Abigail who are being appointed, and they're already being persons of conflict, in the sense that there is a conflict of interest.
Abigail Pambe?
Yes, Abigail Mohandi, that is Kembo, the daughter of the vice, the former vice, and still the daughter of, the father is still the vice of ZANU PF. Therefore, you fail to understand that the father sits in the meetings that discuss on how ZANU PF will win, how Mnangagwa will win. Then, this daughter is the one who is going to, to referee a game or to supervise an election where Chamisa is supposed to win. And therefore, you fail to understand at what point will Abigail officiate this process and declare Chamisa a winner even if he has won. Therefore, there is a conflict of interest already happening there. But in all this, it happens in the sense that democracy that we borrowed from the West was not our thing. We ought to have crafted our own ways of electing our leaders. And that's why yesterday I was siding by Paul Kagame when he was questioned or asked a question on why have you overstayed in power different from any leader from the West. Then Kagame was quick and open to tell the journalist, I'm not from the West, I'm not Western, we do things our own way. Therefore, the democracy that we are having is not okay, and it keeps on attracting some conflicts. Miriam.
Absolutely. But if we go back to your first introduction of the nature of politics, we know that a lot of our political system world over, not just here in Africa, it's deeply rooted in realism. And I'm sure if you just, by understanding of that ideology or that theory, then you would know that you get power, and power, you get it by all means necessary. It is about self-preservation. It is about gaining as much power as you can and control, because politics is a matter of power, the struggle for power. That is the core of politics. So Africans, or a lot of our democracies here, it's really deeply rooted in realism. In an ideal world, things will be different, but I think that is the basis, and I think that is where we go wrong. We're not able to look at it any different. But okay, Doc.
For me, I slightly differ with Mr. Wanda. Because when Wanda says the daughter of a man, Muhadi, should not be a member of the Electoral Commission, that is not very, no.
But perception is everything, Doc.
Perception is everything in politics, but perception is also dangerous for humanity. For example, Wanda's children, if Wanda is a history teacher, you don't need to take any, you should not teach any, she should not teach any history lesson. No. If the daughter has got the job on merit, she has applied, she has been chosen. I think the best that we could say, which I can agree, is let's make our institutions work. If the institutions are working, you won't bother whether it is Raila Odinga, whether it is Museveni, son coming, or whatever it is. Listen, you can beat even the mighty. You can beat them. Kaunda was beaten flat down by Chiluba. You remember the election of Zambia? Kaunda was beaten and he stood back out, went on the platform and said, Mr. Kiruba, you won your election free and fair. I am not going to hold on to power. Here is your elections, your government. Kaunda stepped aside. And when he stepped aside, went to his retirement, Mr. Chiluba came for him. I remember as one of the few people whom Chiluba wanted me, whom Chiluba did not want me to enter Zambia, because I was protesting amongst the people in London who were writing and going to the embassy of Zambia for the release of Kaunda. And we pressurized Chiluba. We cornered him. Every place where he could come to London, we could grow in big crowds. The hotel, we entered there to start drinking beer in a muddy way until the British police sees a crowd of about 200 people in the hotel. The hotel management is overwhelmed. Chiluba used to run through the window. And the density Chiluba was very short, you know, that you cannot see whether it is a garbage collection tin of London, because they are very big. So he used to slip away. So also, what triggers conflicts in Africa, the type of elections, is for us also to have fingers, bad finger pointing of what Wanda is talking about here. If you point the finger at President Museveni and say, you, when I take this power, hello, you, well, if I get this, you will see. That is what has made Africa things very difficult. Because now, Miriam, take an example of Paul Biya. Paul Biya cannot relinquish power, because he knows Paul Biya is just waiting for God to do the necessary. But for you to think of Paul Biya relinquishing power, Wanda, he knows where he will go.
So Paul Biya is being realistic, and that's why I was saying that a lot of our politics are built on realism, which is self-preservation and power. Hold on to it as much as you can.
No, but Miriam, if you look at the way we treated Mubarak in a cake,
and that's why he's being realistic. He knows if he leaves.
Wait, let me make my point, my dear sister. The way we treated Bashir, the way we have put Bashir in a cage like a dog, Mubarak like a dog. Which leader in Africa would like to relinquish power among these dictators? Oh, where will he be? We might bring 10 kegs for Nguema, the long-serving leader of Equatorial Guinea. Nguema. How many kegs can you put there that he looks like a dog? That is humiliation. And the people who tell us to bring our dictators on trial, themselves in their country like Britain, their dictators are not on trial. Is Tony Blair on trial, Wanda? Mr. Wanda? Is Tony Blair?
No, it's not.
Is George Bush on trial?
It's not.
Junior. George Bush Jr. Is he on trial? Is Cameroon in United Kingdom on trial?
Not at all.
Is Sarkozy in France on trial? Are these not the leaders who came and apologized? Is Obama on trial? That Gonya Fiore from CIA. Obama is not on trial. Why? Why is Obama not on trial? Because he took part in dismembering Libya, and they apologized for the mess. They should have handled the Libyan scenario in a different way. That is my submission, Miriam.
Yeah, and they will never be on trial, but our leaders here will go on trial because the systems that they've built, they're not meant for them.
Okay, why should our leaders go on trial? Now,
Because we have agreed.
Me again.
Doc,
you are bringing me back.
Yes, we have agreed. We have agreed to be handled.
Why ours should be on trial? And
Because we took ourselves, we signed, we are party to this. US refused. They're not even party to ICC, but we signed. So we take ourselves to and put ourselves in these situations. And just going back to the point I think I was making yesterday.
No, you have a point. Don't worry. You have a point there.
I just need to anchor it back. They built that system in a way that it's, and they're the ones who are building this system. It cannot, they can do whatever they need to do for the interest of their own countries. We see how they've caused mayhem, Doc, and you've cited, countries and how they've really been messed up. And, America is the leading violent country in the world. That is a fact. But also it is the superpower. So what are you going to do about it? So they can do stuff and get away. You can't do that and get away because the system is not built in a way that you can get away when you're in the global south. They can justify their deeds, but you cannot do that. And that is how that system is built. So unless Africa and the rest of these other countries really relook at this international system and how it has been built and how unfair it is for some of us, then we will continue, being held accountable while they get away. So it is what it is, unfortunately.
Miriam, I sympathize with your point.
and we take ourselves there.
No, on a serious note, let me sit even properly. On a serious note, I want to ask, why should an African leader sign a document that is taking him to jail? Why? From the time I told people in Africa, pull away from the ICC. Make your African courts work. No African leader has ever pulled away from the ICC, except Nkurunziza and Burundi. We go on waiting until this ICC knocks on our doors again. I'm telling you, we have a very bad habit as Africans. You have a point there, Miriam. We go and assign our own death warrants.
Yeah.
When we know that we don't have institutions that will cater for our crimes if we commit, why don't you come back to your country, make your court independent. Then tell ICC, hello, there are no crimes for you to check in here. If someone kills 200 people here in Kenya, we shall put him on trial. If we kill somebody in Chad, we put them on trial. Don't come here. Now for us, we have all taken our lives. We have even walked with our stomachs and taken ourselves, signed this treaty. I'm telling you, we have signed this treaty to fix us. And then tomorrow we start saying the West is against us. What a contradiction. It's good you brought that point. Thank you for the point. I had that one, I agree with you 100%. We have a problem. Why Tony Blair cannot be touched? The law is very clear. The British establishment says
anything
the former
done
prime
in
minister,
the public,
yes,
for the
the former
public
prime minister is not culpable for the actions that he has taken on behalf of the state of Her Majesty, no, His Majesty now. You do it on behalf of Britain, and therefore Britain cannot surrender you to any obnoxious, silly, stupid courts that are selected by people sitting and drinking wine and beer and brandy and coke, what, in one dungeon rooms in New York. That's it.
You know, Doc, the more we talk about these subjects and the more we look at what is happening in Africa, the more you realize we are our own problems. We have created these problems for ourselves.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do. I've written an essay today, a few minutes ago. Stephen can give it to you. I've said every day I wake up, I feel sad and I cry tears when I see Africa, not seeing what I'm seeing. You are doing the same thing of industry. You are lamenting over this, over debts, over what? A debt burden in Africa is lamentable, but nobody tries to do the best to make sure that the debt change the course. Change the course. Look, I was trying to read for you something in Swahili, and maybe let me send it to the Swahili teacher here. He can read it better. Swahili yangu is very little and very limited. This man sent a copy and sent me something which Miriam and Wanda can interpret for me, because for me at the moment my Swahili is very limited. It ended in Malaba border, you know. And Miriam, it is. Let me send it to you. Amongst the punchline WhatsApp. It is there, you can see. Wanda, can you read for me? Maybe you see, this guy is doing something which I was suggesting a few hours, 2 days ago. Alternative means of financing economies. What does that mean, Miriam? Is it a conman? Have you seen it?
Yes.
Wanda, come on. Yes, come.
The guy has written, Jikwamue hii Januari na logbook loan up to 10 million in 6 hours with flexible payment period and favorable rates. I also buy off loans, do assets, and import financing. For inquiries, call or SMS or WhatsApp me, Geoffrey, your credit consultant.
Your comment.
No, those are con men. That is somebody somewhere in committee.
But in reality, is this not happening in Africa? In reality, in Britain, it happens. My first money, I got it through a Shylock. I bought my first restaurant, nightclub, for £12,800. The guy who gave me is a Mzungu, is still there, and we meet on the streets of Croydon up to today. And he told me, don't pay me for 6 months, but each week you pay me £150. By the time of 6 months, he had got the money double, equivalent to that amount, and then 6 months I took 12,000. But look, in my nightclub, it became the first best nightclub in Southeast London. Every East African was coming in, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Malawi, wherever. Jamaica. It was fantastic. I made some money. I did not want to be harassed by a Mzungu standing on me that work here, work. No, I said I will work. I will do my work. I'd worked enough in the British Rail, going to Edinburgh in a train as a supervisor, reading books on the train. I said, let me now buy my own restaurant. I went out and bought a restaurant. A very nice restaurant with the pipes, you know, this pipe. One day, I know you, I don't know whether you take some alcohol. It's a nice beer that I could serve. People could come. I could host. I had 500 to 700 people per night on weekends. And then we play Ugandan music, we play Kenyan music. People could fight there. I could bounce them out. It is a Shylock. I'm not saying that the British police now should tell me, I should tell them the name of, but it's legalized. It's not, it's not legalized. It is informal sector of lending money. And the people are doing it now. They buy houses, they buy a mortgage. He even told me, if you want to buy the house, I'll give you the money. But this is the interest you pay. Now they have even formalized it that they leave you with a kabook. And the guy comes quietly there, knocks the door. You give him money, he puts in the pocket, he signs, he has taken the money. The worst thing that you don't do is to cheat them, because they will blow your door. So that is what makes everybody scared. But if you are very energetic like I was at that age, you can't blow my door anyhow. I can also blow you out of the door. So I borrowed the money. Yes, and I started a club. From 12,800, I sold the nightclub for 108 pounds, 108,000 pounds in 2002. No, 2000. End of 2000. That's when I went to get a job in Sky News to work as a Sky News correspondent. But I had finished. One day I have finished my education out of that nightclub. My children, all of them, we lived very nice life. Borrowing from alternative means can also save a country. So don't only fix yourself on a bank, on IMF or what bank. No, people have money. Medium as we speak now, and you and I, there are people who have 1 billion Kenya shillings on account in Kenya. Am I wrong? It is there, 2 billion. But if this person was very clever, he would lend that money to the government at an interest rate. So we need people in Africa should start talking to such entrepreneurs. Lend us this money, we build this road, we shall pay you, or we shall put a toll gate where we can share the money. There are no ideas being sold in Africa. All the ideas we sell in Africa, conflict, 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 conflict. Finally, this come to DRC Congo. And that will be our last, I think, chapter. Is it that one? We can touch on that one, Miriam?
Can we just gloss over Tanzania, President
Okay.
Suluhu? Yeah.
Okay.
In 2021, I confirmed that her political ambition, saying that she intends to run for office in 2025 to become the country's first elected female president, if at all she wins. And just recently, a few days ago, Suluhu has lifted 6-year ban on political rallies imposed by her hardliner predecessor, John Magufuli. Her decision is part of her 4 R's initiative, which is reconciliation, resilience, reforms, and rebuilding. She acknowledged parties had the right to hold rallies, but she urged them to be civil and not to trade insults. Mr. Magufuli had banned rallies in between elections that were seen as an attempt to weaken the opposition. He dismissed rallies as a waste of time and money, and said they detracted from the key challenge of building the economy. Bi Samia, on her part, announced the reversal of his policy at a meeting with opposition politicians. And she was quoted as saying, "Our duty as a government will be offering protection for those rallies." The chairman of the main opposition, Chadema party, Freeman Mbowe, said he welcomed the announcement. Mr. Mbowe spent 7 months in prison before the prosecution dropped charges of terrorism against him in March 2022. There seems to be a new dawn in Tanzanian politics.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I was in Tanzania last year. I saw the type of development. I actually managed to travel around Dar es Salaam in all parts at these areas where we used to live in 1978, 79, in Musasani and the other areas. The type of development that is taking place is as a result of a peaceful environment, a peaceful environment with tranquility. There are no political prisoners in Tanzanian cells. All have been released. Everybody has gone home. There are criminals that steal chicken and other things like any other country. Tanzania, like Kenya, does not have any criminal, any political detainee, which is a very great sign for East Africa. But there are countries in East Africa that still have political detainees, like Rwanda, South Sudan, tuambiane ukweli jameni. Uganda, there are people there who are still held on criminal charges. Yes, that's so far there's no political detainee also. There's nobody politically detained in Uganda for political being able to talk on a television station. As you get out, you are, no. Let's give a credit where it is. But most of the crimes, tuambiane ukweli, you cannot come on international TV like this and hate a president because you hate him and say there is a political prisoner there. No.
We're nearing that season. We're nearing that season, though.
Yeah?
We are nearing that season towards election. In and out. But go ahead, Doc.
Miriam, why are you pulling me? Please, let me say my statement.
Yes.
So far,
Much obliged.
in Uganda, there is no political prisoner in jail. The people who are there are either on charges of terrorism, anti-terrorism law, which is very clear, but you cannot be picked because you have spoken on TV and then someone waits for you outside to say you spoke on TV. There are other activities taking place. I can't say no, but there are no political prisoners. But South Sudan has political prisoners. Yes, they are there. There are some people who are still languishing because they opposed Salva Kiir. They have not been released. Democratic Republic of Congo also has no political prisoners. I haven't seen any. I have seen Fayulu, all these people are hitting at Mr. Tshisekedi as a sellout who has sold the country to the highest bidder. In Burundi, we don't have political prisoners. I don't see any, unless you have one. But in Rwanda, I don't know. Maybe Miriam can educate me on that. Or Wesonga, who is Wanda Wesonga, who is a great friend of His Excellency Kagame. You can tell us, is there a political prisoner there?
Maybe as Miriam has alluded, we are nearing the timings.
No, Rwanda,
what happens
there are political prisoners in Rwanda. I mean, we all know that.
And in fact, we do, but what happens as you
I think in Rwanda, you don't, if you want to live longer, you don't criticize near there.
No, you don't vie against President Paul.
No, you don't. Miriam, my dear sister, look at me. I tell you the truth. A man comes and tells you that you, Metanga, we like you, but your mouth will create you a problem. So, no, honestly, and look here, and you are already in a foreign country where he's telling you. Yeah, someone has visited where you have run very far in the United Kingdom, and a government minister comes from Uganda and says, "Oh, you where?" And you know, the Bazungu are very sensitive, Miriam. And the Bazungu are in the audience. And it's not a small joke. It is a joke which starts with the word, we shall kill you. For you, we shall kill you. You think you can stay near there? So look at the state of affairs. Look at the state of affairs as far as things are concerned. Kagame is a very great, I have managed to sit near him once. I know him when they were fighting in Fronasa, and some of us were in Chikos Malum. So some of us know a bit of each other, including General Salim Saleh, who has got a very good heart, Joe. General Salim Saleh has got a very good heart. I am telling you, Miriam, today, if you go near him, he's got a very good heart. and me, I give a credit where it is due. You sit with General Salim Saleh, you will not go home miserably. He's got a good heart. He looks after. He knows what the demands are. He knows the politics. You can engage. But General Kagame does not talk much. So with such a situation, the best thing is to calculate. After, hi, how are you, sir? Thank you very much. And unless he calls you, he will say, but you are going and you are not going. How are you going to return home? Don't bring a subject which is not there. But with General Salim Saleh, he's a very honest man. He said, you have visited me and I know your conditions. Here is $5,000 or $1,000. Go and buy food as you go back. We are not able to have lunch with you. It's like Mugabe. Mugabe went to his room. The last conference that I attended of AU, where we had gone to select Amina Mohammed, and we are conned by the French and Morocco. And they elected this useless man in the AU now. I went to meet President Mugabe. I still have the envelope. I've kept it at home in London. But not the contents, the envelope. You know, we talked then, I told him about transition. He asked me, what is transition? Well, I told him, we are getting there and we need a person to sustain the ZANU-PF. He was very impressed with my discussion about transition. Then as I stood up to say, Your Excellency, thank you very much. At least when you return to Zimbabwe this afternoon, say hi to everybody, say hi to Emerson. By then, Emerson was a vice president, deputy vice president in Zimbabwe. He said, yeah, they're there. I'll pass your regards. Then he said, my son, sit down first. Then he called in Shona. He called the aide de camp. Bring that folder. He brought a folder. I am telling you, they have written the money, maybe I'm on top of the envelope. $1,666 allowance. People call people that the people have amassed wealth, but Mugabe went down a very honest person on some of the things. He said, do you know what, David, Dr. Matsanga, you have fought for Zimbabwe for a long time, and we have never repaid you, and we might not repay you. How are you paying your bills when you are in Addis Ababa? I know my bill, he was very honest, my bill has been paid by the government of Ethiopia in this hall, because I'm an elder statesman, you know, in categories. So Ethiopia they give respect to the elderly. So they paid. So for me, I don't need this. He gave me that envelope. I put in the court, and I went down the lift. I went to Radisson Blue. I sat down. I said, hey, So this president also documents the allowance. Even I think he must have signed for it. Then I said, Chairman, then when people say people have amassed wealth, where is the wealth? That is it. So for me, I think conflicts in Africa do come as a result of a misunderstanding in places of institutions of elections. As Miriam said at the beginning, we still have a lot of contradictions, a paradox of things not working together. We create conflicts. But the trigger of our most conflicts on the continent of Africa still remains elections. I submit.
Okay.
It's 6 minutes past 1 o'clock. Can I do a takeaway?
Absolutely.
What do you think? Miriam, you want to continue? We gloss over.
Just go ahead with the takeaway.
Okay. Conflicts in Africa have retarded the development that we wanted after independence. Several African countries, as we speak, are under conflict, starting from Libya, Central African Republic, Somalia, Ethiopia, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Mozambique, to some extent, have been under the banner of conflicts and the bleeding children of Africa. The conflict in South Sudan came to a close, to an end, but the solutions are still very far to be achieved. We have not achieved a permanent solution for the people of South Sudan. We still have conflict lingering amongst the leadership in South Sudan. How long it will take for us to have a permanent solution for South Sudan is only upon us Africans to sit down and look at ourselves as to whether this conflict in South Sudan pays us in the Great Lakes region. The Congo conflict also has taken a new dimension, that for the first time, the East African stabilizing force decided to come into place and shape to deliver an East Africa stable out of negative elements of M23 and other rebel forces of ADF and others that are camped in Democratic Republic of Congo. Over 132 rebel groups are on the soil of Congo. How then do we solve this problem of Congo? Don't we boldly state and say, surely Congo needs rearrangement? Across the east of the Horn of Africa, we have another conflict that has been there since 1991. It is one of the oldest conflicts on the continent of Africa, in Somalia. A few days ago, terrorists in the heartland of Somalia killed several people, bombed buildings, destroyed property, and the conflict still goes on unchecked. If Africa can bring down the curtain of conflicts, Africa will rise and we shall see a better Africa. The conflict in Libya, therefore, like the conflicts that are there in other parts of Africa, presents a challenge to the African Union. That African Union itself has been able to recognize both the government in Benghazi and the government in Tripoli. How come that we have two governments in one nation? That the French have taken the Benghazi and the Turkish have taken Tripoli. Are these conflicts our own making or externally funded to benefit the external forces that yearn for the resources of Africa? If that is so, when will Africa stand up, reject the notion that conflicts must be the thing of the past, that conflicts must never deter our developmental programs, that we hardly get to go through every 5 years, that development can only come when there is a peaceful environment that can enable investors and businessmen to conduct their businesses without hindrance. It is therefore my submission that conflicts in Africa are self-made. We allow them to go on. There are some that are self-made. There are some that are externally funded by our enemies to make Africa a child that is sick, so that we can go and borrow from them. Let's watch out. 2023 should be used as a year of silencing guns on the African continent. We laud you, President, former President of Kenya, and the President of Kenya himself, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, for having appointed the former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to take charge, to continue with the peace missions that have brought some fruits in Ethiopia, which we must not hibernate. The conflict must not be allowed to hibernate, but it must be resolved. We must follow up with stakes of getting money, resources to mobilize and demobilize the people, the troops that once held the guns. With those few words, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to this video. Thank you.